Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. Sorry, we are a little bit behind, some technical difficulties, but I'm glad we are back. I am Raj Parman, Acutrack CEO, and I'm very excited about hosting today's session. We have someone very, very special who is Jeffrey Mason. Many of you already probably know him or follow him. I personally had the privilege of um, working for him for the last year and a half, helping him, fuel his support his growth on when his books got viral on TikTok for the last year and a half. And during this time, we had some many lunch sessions as Jeffrey lives not too far from us, and every time we met, I got truly inspired by him and got to know this genuinely wonderful human being. So, with that being said, I'd like to kind of hand over to Pete, my co host, who will be guiding this conversation with Jeffrey, asking him the kind of questions you all want to hear.
Thank you, Raj.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, same sentiment as Raj. I've had the pleasure of joining Raj and Jeffrey on some lunches as well. Very interesting couple of people, both of them.
Mhm.
But Jeffrey, especially because we're talking about this TikTok world that we're in now. He's been the pioneer in a lot of ways. Today we'll go into that. So obviously, I think a lot of you already know me from the previous webinar and from conversations we've had at Acutrack. My name is Pete Aguilera, and I'm going to be here to kind of just ask Jeffrey some questions and let him really take over the conversation when that comes about. So Jeffrey Mason is the creator of the Hear Your Story series, I'm sure you all know, and he turned this single-guided journal into a multi-book business, and is internationally sold, and he's sold millions of copies. We're going to ask him how he did it and see if we can inspire you to do the same yourself. That being said, Jeffrey, let's jump right into it. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, thank you. This is 81 people. Wow, this is crazy.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
So Jeffrey, take us back to the beginning. Just let us know a little bit of what sparked the idea to get your book started.
Now, so I am not someone who ever set out to write books, be an author, um, have a side hustle, any of this stuff. The entire Hear Your Story series started out as something that I did for me, did for my family. My dad in 2018, 2019 was in the middle of Alzheimer's, more towards the end of Alzheimer's. And I just had this need. I always say I wanted to meet my dad. And of course I knew my dad, but what I mean by that is I wanted to meet my dad, the person. I knew my dad. He was the provider. He was the leader of the house. He was a disciplinarian. He provided for us. But I wanted to know about him as a person. I wanted to know about childhood stuff, teenage stuff, becoming an adult, meeting my mom, becoming a father, all those things that make each of us us. My dad and I we're 20 years apart in age, so very, very close. When I think back, my dad, by the time he was 24, had 3 kids. I would have been such a knucklehead if I had 3 kids at 24 years old.
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of fathers and sons, I'll speak for myself here, we had incredible love for each other, but there was also those bumps and bruises of, I was the oldest, I was the only boy. Just those bumps and bruises that just come naturally sometimes between fathers and sons. And I grew up in Texas. A month after high school, I was in the United States Navy. That landed me in California. Life took over. I have lived here ever since. We would visit all the time. We would talk all the time, but there were so many things that we just never, ever, ever addressed. And I just had a lot of grief and regrets that I had not sat down and like just learned about my dad. So one night I wrote all these questions that I wanted to know about my dad. It's a spiral bound notebook, college rolled notebook. And when all the visits we would do going back to Texas, my dad wasn't able to help most of it because he was, that Alzheimer's had just stolen so much of him already. So I would talk to my aunts, my uncles, my dad's friends, my mom, just anyone who knew him. And I just began to see so many things about my dad that just took all the rough stuff off. I saw how we were so much alike. I saw the areas where we weren't alike. It was, who the heck cares? And it just washed away so much silliness that had been built up over the years. Just by letting him be a person and not making him be this royal title of father and dad, which is such a hard job and impossible job. It was awesome for me. It was awesome for my sisters. It was cool to have this record of my dad's life. Folks would ask about the questions, you heard about them. So I'd make Xerox copies and give them out to folks. And then I heard about this thing called, this was back in 2019, Create Space, which Amazon eventually bought, and that became KDP. I read some articles and heard some podcasts and figured I'll figure this out. And so I threw my books up out there. I look at those now and I just shake my head. This is even before Canva. So it was this, and I'm no graphic designer, but the covers were just scary. There was no editing. I mean, it was edited, but not professionally edited. But I threw it out there. That was the important thing. I mainly just wanted, for folks who asked the questions, an easy way for them to find them. And this was definitely back in the days when on KDP and Amazon, things were a lot more forgiving, and organic traffic was a lot easier. And just over the years, it just kind of grew little by little. This is something I've done later in life. I'm 62 years old. I started doing this in my late 50s. I left my last full-time job. I had done some really cool jobs in my life. The last one was one where I didn't like them and they didn't like me. So my amazing wife, Paula, said, why don't you have your retirement set aside. Why don't you retire and do something else? So I retired. And the goal was to make $500 from my books a month to match with my retirement savings, that would equal my salary. And then the pandemic happened in 2020, of course, and the books really peaked up. A lot of folks were looking for gifts for mom, dad at Mother's Day, Father's Day that year. I think we were all looking at our parents a little differently, a little more worried about them during that time period. So the books just kind of took off. And ever since then, the algorithms have always benefited us. We've always done decently. It was enough I definitely surpassed that $500 goal. It was a nice income for me. And it was fun. I found out that I just loved making stuff and creating stuff. And I love hearing from folks who would get the books. And they would, the first two books was, Mom, I want to hear your story. Dad, I want to hear your story. And do you have a book for grandmothers or a book for grandfathers? Do you have it this way or that way? And would just make a new one. It was that way. I have a single book in traditional Mandarin Chinese, just in my dad book, because I got an email from a woman whose father only spoke Chinese. He was stage 4 cancer. Do you have one? So I had a translation made of it. So I have a lot of things like that. I just kind of made it in response to folks. And it just kind of kept growing and growing. Then I started playing around. I had a woman who owned a boutique in Maine called me, sent me an email. I got this book for Christmas. I would love to sell it in my store. Do you wholesale? And I replied back, sure. And then I Googled what's wholesale. And I learned about it. And that's when I first met Raj, because I needed to start doing print runs to do wholesale. No longer could I do print on demand. So we would do small print runs and feed them out to stores. But I had books. So I would sell on a variety of platforms. Etsy, I would sell on, I had my website. And then last year in TikTok, I built a little store there, a TikTok shop. Sold just okay. hated being on there making content. It's just not my thing. My oldest daughter just kept imploring me, "You got to get on TikTok. You got to get on TikTok." And I would just, get off my lawn. I'm not going to dance. I'm not going to sing. Get off my lawn. And she said, no, it's not like that. So I would just make videos, rarely putting myself on the camera just because I did not enjoy it. And just out of the grace of the algorithms, I had a video just go bonkers last year. And it just continued for the entire year. What had always been a really great business, the brand had been built up. We were selling in all kinds of places. By then, we were in 300 little boutiques around the countries that we had gotten ourselves into. We were selling very well on Amazon, selling very well on the other platforms. But the TikTok thing just changed everything. And that's when Acutrack, Raj, Pete, the entire team there just saved our everything. We were getting in 700 to 800 orders a day. And you do this thing when it first happens, you're like, you got the kids, you got the wife, we can do this. And you can do that. But can you do it the next day? 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 And the answer is no. So that's when we really began this collaboration. Raj took a huge major risk on me and my books and my brand. And it just continued to grow last year, and it continues to grow now. At the end of last year, I entered an agreement with Sourcebooks. They're the number 5 publisher in the country as far as numbers of print books. We formed a joint venture together, which now is getting the books into major retail. And now we're in 7 new languages that we've sold the foreign rights to. So the goal is to continue growing the brand. And I have this huge mission. When my dad passed, his obituary was like 2 paragraphs long. But my dad had this life story and these life experiences that could fill a library, I always say. And it just made me realize that I don't care who the heck you are, you have an amazing life story that needs to be heard, needs to be shared, needs to be learned from, needs to be preserved. I just think we've gotten, in my opinion, the situation where, oh, I'm not famous, I'm not rich, I don't have this, I don't have that. My story's not worth it. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So the goal of Hear Your Story is just to create a simple, approachable way for anyone to reminisce on their life and share it and preserve it. And that's kind of the goal here. Yes, it's to sell. Yes, it's to build the brand up, but it really is that larger thing that I just think we would have a lot less friction in the world if we knew about each other. Because I believe that the more we know about each other, the more we see how we're more alike than different, irregardless of all the boxes and labels we put on each other. That's my long speech. I apologize. So
inspiring.
Now, I was just going to comment to say that it's what you said in the beginning is so true. Is we live with people for our whole lives, like you say, with your father. And we think we know them, but if we really wanted to get to know them, we have to really probe and ask real questions, serious questions, which we don't really think about when we're living on the day-to-day. So having this idea and sharing this project with the world has really been something that's obviously proven to be loved by everybody. So I think that the mission is great, and the way you're doing it is awesome too, because it is getting to millions of people, right? But I think what our audience really wants to know, Jeffrey, I mean, everything was great. The story was awesome. They want to know about how you did it, right? Like that's really what the important thing is. Like, did you start off with any kind of coaching? Did you go and pay for lessons on how to get on KDP? Did you have any mistakes that you want to make sure that everybody else on the forum avoids? Anything like that?
Back then, I mean, I'm sure there were coaches, like, there's so many now in the indie author space, and there's so many amazing tools. There weren't really as many of those. There were podcasts I listened to and YouTube videos. And then I had a break, and I just wanted to figure this out. I wanted definitely to find a way that there is so many people asking about these Xerox copies of these questions I had made up that, I mean, I'm not a dummy. It definitely felt like a possible business thing, nothing like it's become, but a possible way to make some extra money and do this thing that had become important to me. So there wasn't coaching. And like I said, I mean, I look at the first versions of the books and I've kept them around because I think it's important. I blush at them. They're just, they're not the best. I'm amazed that I didn't get 1 and 2 star reviews on Amazon left and right, just because I look at them now. But I mean, they were definitely organized well. They weren't, when I say not edited, I mean, I'm a pretty decent editor. They weren't as great as they are now. I didn't have spelling errors. I didn't have syntax errors, but they just weren't. There's lots of ways to write questions. And we try very hard. We even do focus groups with our questions because I want to have questions that people can answer comfortably in a sentence or in 9 paragraphs. I don't care. So we work very, very hard at our questions now to make sure that they are not just, what's your birthday, what's this, what's that. And then we arrange them very specific ways to make it very approachable, kind of get folks into the habit of, into the momentum of writing and answering questions. A lot of folks don't like to write. A lot of folks get intimidated by the page. So the versions we have now, there's just been so much that's gone into them. But like I said, those first versions, from the cover to the interior, it's just, but the cool thing is we tried, we threw it out there. And then the other cool thing is we just kept trying to get better. I did hire editors. I did pay money, not just for a cover, but for a designer to come in and completely redo my interior, redo my exterior. So the goal was always to get better and better and make them look like they were made by a major publisher, and you'd find it there in a major bookstore. That was the goal. So,
absolutely. Yeah. So there, obviously, it takes a lot of time to really create a premium, not just product, but a premium brand. So all the time that you took to learn all that really makes a lot of sense, because now what we see is something that's a lot more polished. And now you're with source books, which took it to the next level as well, right? Exactly. So were there any pitfalls that you might have gone through that you want to share that other people can avoid? Anything to do with the marketing? Was it very difficult to do marketing in the beginning? Did you have a hard time with that? I think marketing is one of the biggest concerns that everybody has on how to do it online, particularly.
Yeah. No, I've always, because most of this time period has been Amazon, majority Amazon specifically. I've always run ads on KDP. I've always made that investment. I don't view it as spending money on ads. I view it as buying book sales. And if I can spend $1 and make $2 or $3 for that $1, I'll just keep doing it. In the beginning, I definitely stretched the budget to do it. But since then, we're now spending a decent amount every month, every year on advertising. That then moved into the risk of starting doing print runs. That moved into the risk of now advertising in other places. Like I said, I'm selling. If you have a storefront that I can sell a book on, I will try to sell a book there. I do it on Etsy. I do it on TikTok, of course. I've played around with Temu. I've played around with Pinterest. I've played around with Facebook, Instagram. Some of those places were still there when I say I played around. But the goal is, Flip for a while, there was a place we were selling on. The goal is, if I can sell a book on your platform, I will sell my book on your platform, because the reality is at the end of the day, I make books of questions, and anyone can make books of questions. I don't think they're as good as my books of questions, but the consumer doesn't know that until they can see them side by side. So if I'm not selling my books of questions there, somebody else will be selling their book of questions there. So,
Sure.
Yeah. So
that being said, you said you would be, you're open to selling on every platform available. That's great. Walk us through TikTok. How did you become successful on TikTok? Obviously, you're one of the pioneers in what I would consider, being successful on TikTok at the level that you did it.
Yeah, no, when I talk to a lot of folks who've just been, I mean, a lot of folks grumble about Amazon. Amazon requires this and this and this and this. But all I know is I have sold a ton of books on Amazon. I've never talked to a customer. I've never shipped a book. I've never done all those things that I now am responsible for by having all the other platforms. So Amazon spoiled the heck out of me. It made not a risk-free situation, but pretty risk-free. You don't have to carry inventory. You don't have to do print runs. It's just, I was paying for advertising and collecting royalties, and then making new books and making the current books better. But once you move off that platform and you move to be your website, to TikTok, Etsy, which any of those, now you're responsible for customer service. Now you're responsible for fulfillment and shipping. Now you have to take the risk of doing print runs. I think some folks look at that idea of doing a print run as, let's say it costs, and this is just numbers. Let's say you're doing 500 books and it's $1,000 you're going to spend, and you say, I've got to sell all 5 of those 100 books to make it back. No, if you're selling those books at $10 each, you're going to have to sell, a lot, only a few of those books to make your money back. And then your profit will start coming in, of course, once your shipping costs, et cetera, everything there. You will not change your business by doing the same things you do yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before. You will only change your business by doing new things, trying new things. And that's just the way it is. We were always looking for new ways to sell, new things to sell, and new places to sell. Like I said, you have to change what you're doing, evolve what you're doing if you want your business to change and evolve. If you're simply waiting for a lucky algorithm moment, a viral moment, that's just Las Vegas. That's just playing gambles. A lot of folks say, gosh, I wish I could go viral. And my response is, unless you have a plan to print a bunch of books and ship a bunch of books, going viral is just a wasted opportunity. You need to have a plan already in place to have books available or whatever you sell and be able to get those things from you to that customer in a timely manner. If you don't have a plan for that, then going viral is, like I said, it's just a bunch of views of a video then. So,
right. Yeah. You become an influencer in a sort.
Yes, for a moment. It's the Warhol, everyone's famous for 15 minutes. So
Yeah, I see some questions in the chat. We're gonna get to that, guys. Once we're done with the first conversation, and then we'll ask all the questions you have there. But talking about opening or broadening your abilities to do marketing and sales through all these different platforms, and never standing still, never just waiting for a viral moment. One of the things that you talked to me about, Raj, and me about, is that branding is one of the most important things that not a lot of people are aware of, and that sometimes you can forget who you are as a brand because you're chasing something that you see as something shiny, right? If that made any sense.
Yeah, no, and there are lots of business models, and I'm not critical of any of them. What I think is what business history has shown us is if you can take from making a product and then become a brand that people know that is associated with that product or that product line, you have a much greater chance of growing your business, finding new customers, building trust, and growing your business. There's a lot of folks, especially on KDP, who sell books. Not a lot of them, especially in the indie space, take the next step and say, you know what? These are the kind of books I make. This is our mission, and we're going to build a brand around these. When I look at the indie space and I look at the various coaches out there, I see a lot of, it's been always kind of this long-term teaching, look what's popular, make your version of that. It's hard to be a long-term success by simply copying other things. And I don't mean copying exactly, I mean doing my version of what's already popular. Because then you're now, it's just, there's Coke and there's all the others. There's the other idea of, what are people searching for? I'll make a book for that. But then you end up having a book platform that's a ton of different topics, which is fine if you're a publisher, but none of us act like publishers. We act like authors who make books. My goal is that when people hear the name Hear Your Story, they know exactly that we're the place that you go to for a simple way for you or a loved one to share, preserve your life story, chronicle life events, and build connections with yourself and each other. Yeah. That's the goal of Hear Your Story. And if you look at my books, my name is not on the front cover. It's Hear Your Story, Hear Your Story, Hear Your Story, Hear Your Story. So.
Awesome. Branding is actually just good for any business, but it's just that, more so you're kind of saying why is it so important in the publishing space, but I say in general, it's great for any business.
Yeah, I mean, individual author. If I say Stephen King, I know what that is. Yeah. If I say Thoreau, I know what that is. But if you, and I'm definitely not knocking anyone's business model, but if you end up having a book about this here and a book about this here and a book about this here, it's hard for that customer who bought the first book to return to you to get more of this if now you're selling all these. Yeah. It's like I sell oranges and I sell cars. Yeah. Cool. But that's just why I like the idea of brand. Number one, it helps me channel my efforts. It helps me market tremendously. I'm now talking about, I don't talk about books as much as I talk about mission and the ideas we have. The books just take care of themselves. Like I said, there's a lot of folks who do kind of what we do, but my goal is that Hear Your Story is the place that you go to for this kind of book.
Nice. So, very good.
Yeah, I think we're going to get into the questions now. I mean, obviously, just to get some closure on that point, the goal is that when you have a brand, it really creates longevity. And it creates the ability for you to develop more products than books, because then you start growing into other things. So that's really awesome, and I'm glad that's one of the things that was talked about today.
Yeah. So and the other thing too is it makes your marketing a lot cheaper. When I was advertising on Amazon, gifts for mom, gifts for dad, my spend was a lot more. Now that people are searching for Hear Your Story, or mom, I want to hear your story, dad, I hear your story, I'm spending a whole lot less on advertising because I have a lot of less clicks that don't result in a sale. And now on Amazon loves it when people search for something that results in a buy, because they will then keep pushing you. So like I said, if you can build a brand and people begin to look for that brand, it makes your marketing efforts cheaper and easier. So
very cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let me get to some questions here, Jeffrey. Just a moment.
Sure.
I think from Matt, from a tactical standpoint, how do you go about preventing drop shippers flooding TikTok Shop with your books from Amazon?
We have got number one, congratulations. If drop shippers are copying you, that means you're selling a lot of books. Congratulations. But it also means now you're in the exact same position as, not the same level as Nike, as all these places. I spend a whole lot of money now every year on companies that go out and send out takedown notices. I have an attorney. I'm suing 2 websites right now. If you go to the website, they're my books. And it's not just that they're my books. They look like my books on the cover. But when you open them up, they're full of misspellings. It's just horrible grammar. I get emails about them, and it hurts my brand. So the reality is I'm spending a bunch of the money I make on attorneys and technical solutions to go after these folks and do cease and desist. We do a lot of work with Alibaba to bring down these sites. We do a lot of communication to Temu, all the platforms. I have a staff person that says all they do is they run the IT situation that we use, a company called Brand Shield, to send out. We probably send out 70 to 80 cease and desist a week now. So
wow,
Yeah.
Is that specific? I mean, specifically to TikTok, how do you stop them from doing it?
You have to notify TikTok. You have to notify Amazon. You have to notify TikTok. I took the extra step in that I copyright everything and I've trademarked Hear Your Story. Hear Your Story is trademarked for the classes that we sell in. So that gives me the ability that when anyone's using Hear Your Story or something that looks like Hear Your Story that can create consumer confusion, that I can do a cease and desist, and if I have to, I can sue you. And
a lot to do with branding as well. So now it's going to be a hard time for somebody to copy you, because if they do something similar, it's going to be your brand, and you can sue them for a lot more. And I see that.
Yeah, and it's
one of the ways to prevent it is to do the copywriting and to have the trademarks. Okay.
Yeah, which was an expense, but it's an expense that has come into it's helped us out a lot now. But like I said, I mean, if people are copying you, that means you're selling books. That means that's really good. So the next step is, build that brand and protect your brand. So
the next question is from Alan. Did TikTok videos impact your Amazon sales?
Tremendously. There is no better place than TikTok for people to discover your books, what you're selling, your brand. There just simply isn't. When people search on Amazon, they're looking at, you get a lot of stuff. When people are on Instagram, they get a lot of stuff. But if they can get that one commercial, which is a video, and then we do a lot of affiliate work. We do a lot of our own content. That idea that people need to see what you're selling about 7 to 8 times for them to say, oh, great. TikTok's own studies show that for every 5 sales that happened because of a TikTok video, 3 of those happened off platform, meaning they did not happen on TikTok. They happened be it Amazon or everywhere else. A lot of folks on TikTok, they'll want to buy there, but they have Amazon Prime. So they'll say, Hear Your Story, boom, buy it there. So yeah, we, if it helps at all, in addition to just the tremendous growth we had because of TikTok, my 2 major books last year on Amazon were the number 4 and the number 5 books of all books sold on Amazon for all of 2024. So, yeah, so it definitely is a halo effect, but it also increased my Etsy sales. I've never run a single ad to my personal website. It went through the roof as well. So TikTok creates this flywheel halo effect that will impact all of your sales. So
essentially another marketing arm, right?
Yeah,
the videos.
It's the best marketing because it's an actual commercial, and we send out a ton of samples to affiliates all over TikTok. So there are times, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, our biggest sales periods, where people curse me because they just see our darn books all the time, because I have so many people, that I'm giving 18% of the sale to who are talking about Hear Your Story. So, yeah.
Awesome. On that note, also the question from Davina is, since you hated making your videos, the one that went viral, did you make it, or was it an affiliate that made it?
The first one that ever went viral was one I was in my garage, and I had my mom book and my dad book up against the traditional garage unfinished wall. I had my camera pointed at the books. It was this awful day of allergies for me, which means I'm breathing out of my mouth. I sound like Darth Vader. And I'm just like, mom book, Mother's Day, dad book, Father's Day. Not those words exactly, of course. Did this like at the end of March, and did some, I guess, the right hashtags. And then all of a sudden, towards the end of about the second week of April, it was 4 million views in one day. So it was me, but just my voice. The most, it's one of those videos that if you saw it before you posted it, you would never post it because it was just so awful. But
it was going to draft.
But what really, really, really helped me is, so earlier today in this session, I talked about my dad and the origin story of the books. I would never talk about that before. I just didn't want to use. I felt like I was using my dad and that's personal family story to sell books. But one of the folks I worked with on the wholesale side, she told me, you need to talk about that story because people buy from people. People buy from people. You should get comfortable with that. So I sat down with my mom, my sisters, and I said, are you guys cool if I talk about this more? And my mom's like, your dad would love all this. Go for it. So once I started doing videos, even though I hate being on camera, just talking about this real true human thing that's the source of this, it became, my books, in my opinion, became more than just books. They became a connection to other people going through the same and similar things. A lot of people have parents who are getting older and they're concerned about them. A lot of folks who have relatives going through health scares. A lot of people are going through health things. So that story, I think, in my opinion, people saw their own story in my story, and they bought a Hear Your Story book, not because I sold a cool book, but because it resonated with them, and they were hoping it would do the same thing for them that it did for me.
So it was really being genuine. Your first viral your first viral video was just you.
I mean, and that's also to get back to the whole idea of, when you have this brand and you know what you're making, the hope is you also like making these things. It's important to you. I mean, if I was doing the thing where I have a book about this and a book about that and a book this, there's not like a mission attached to any of that. So I don't know if I would have a personal story to talk about it. It would just be, this is a cool book that will help you do this, which is a great marketing tip. But what helps me get comfortable talking about these things is I really, really care about this. I just think there's just so much elbowing going on in the world right now that I feverishly believe that if we just hung out together, we all think we're connected because of these things. We're not connected because of those things. We're texting. Social media has never connected a single person that I know of. It's the equivalent of people are real easy to flip somebody else driving when they're in their car, versus they never do it in person. So I just think that if we talk more, learn about each other more, we wouldn't be elbowing so much. It's just really important to me. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So Millie's asking, how did you build your TikTok affiliate program?
In the beginning, it's like what I hear the frustration a lot of folks have is you'll send out invitations, and very few will reply back. I mean, affiliates, they're paying their bills by selling a product and getting a small percentage of that. So I totally understand a lot of these affiliates saying, I'm going to focus my videos on things that I know they're already selling well. So in the beginning, it was just a slow trickle. That's why you have to make your own content also. But once we started, the sales started going up, then folks began to reach out to us. But once you get an affiliate, you need to, that's an affiliate, especially one that's really good at the selling thing. You work with them, you reach out to them. You just don't say, wow, I sent them a sample, now they're going to make a video, we're done here. You just, you build, that's an asset. If you have a great affiliate who sells for you, that's an asset. So I have folks on my team now that this is all they do. They work with our affiliates. We have tried a whole variety of things to talk to folks. We will send out, we have a new book coming up. Here's some video ideas that are working. So again, to answer the question specifically, in the beginning, it was a trickle. But 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8. But if you have something that catches traction, even small traction, that will pick up. And once the affiliate network, and there's Facebook pages out there, Discord channels out there where it's just affiliates. They talk to each other, and they will say, "Oh, wow, I'm doing well with this item," and the others will then reach out to you as well. So
It starts off as a grind, but eventually it pays off.
Yeah, and you have to be willing to give up free whatever you're selling. You have to give them samples. You have to be willing to do that. For me to send out a sample, including shipping, it's around $8, and I'm sending out 200 samples a week right now. So that adds up. That adds up, but it's worth it. So
Thanks, Jeff. Robert asks about content creation. How'd you accomplish this in the beginning? Do you hire content creators now?
No, it's a mixture. We do our own. And then the affiliates, they pick what, a lot of them will use the ideas that we send them. But, if you've seen a Hear Your Story TikTok video, you most likely have seen a video that goes something like, before your mom dies, before your dad dies. I'm so tired of those. They work, but I'm so tired of those. But no, the content, we just, the other advantage of knowing your brand is when you're making content, if you stick to what your brand is and what your brand's about, the content comes easy. I don't like to chase the latest trend, the latest sound, and all that stuff on TikTok. We just talk about the books, talk about our mission, talk about our purpose, talk about our books, talk about the mission, talk about the purpose, talk about our books, talk about the mission, talk about the purpose. That's what we do. The best marketers in the world will tell you in a one video or one commercial or one ad, you talk about one idea and you talk about one idea clearly. If you talk about 10 ideas in that ad, people miss all 10. But one idea talked about clearly and move on to the next one. So
it's all about focus. Make
Yeah.
sure that it's easy to understand. Okay.
Yeah.
The next question comes from Gada. She says, what advice do you give someone starting TikTok shop? There's probably a lot, but what's like the main biggest advice that you can give someone who's just starting TikTok shops?
Just go for it. TikTok, and I know that's lousy advice. I will talk and then I'll try to be more specific. Just go for it. No. In the beginning, it can feel frustrating. Sometimes the frustration can be even getting your shop set up. Sometimes the frustration can be getting the affiliates. Sometimes the frustration is I've made so many videos this week, I'm getting no traction at all. If you have decided that your business and your books will reach a wider audience because of the opportunity of TikTok, you have to keep at it. You may evolve, you may try some new ideas, but you have to keep making that content. You have to keep, working at it. If you're on TikTok though, because, it worked for Jeff, it'll work for me, maybe. But you need to decide, is this a good place for people to discover what I make and what I sell? I can find my audience here. I propose yes. It's just you've got to just keep at it. I'm not one of these folks who say you have to make 9 pieces of content a day or 3 pieces of content a day. Sometimes we'll do a content a day. Sometimes I truly hate being on camera. So I'll go a week and not do some new content. Yeah. Of course, I have the affiliates doing stuff on their account. But if you have decided that TikTok is a good place for you and your books, just keep at it. Just keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. So
I guess to sum that up, it's once you start, just don't give up. Yeah,
because you just never. It was a grind in the beginning for me, and then I had one random video just pop, So, but once again, if you assume you're going to have that viral moment and plan now for what you will do if you are selling 25 books a day or 50 books a day or 100 books a day or 500 books a day. Plan now. What will I do? The great thing is if you have Acutrack, if you're working with them, they will, like I said, there is just no way in the world, and I've told Raj and Pete this, that I would be where I am today and Hear Your Story be where we are today if it wasn't for Acutrack. That's not a commercial. That's just the facts because
your check is in the mail, Jeffrey.
No. There are very few places who can, if you run out of books today, make sure you have books in a very short amount of time and then get those books in a very short amount of time in envelopes and in the mail to your folks. There's just, I don't know of any other operation or around anywhere in the country that can do that for you. So
thank you.
If you sell books. So
right.
Yeah.
Next question is from David. It has to do with affiliates again. And the question is, the early process, you talked about it. You already said that you sent a lot of messages and did that. I think the real question because he has 2 questions is at what point do they really start seeking you instead of you seeking them?
If you begin to have, once your sales begin to go up, it begins to get more traction. It becomes a little bit easier. You can, in your message, say, you know, what we will say is, you know, I always talk about a few things with affiliates. Our GMV, our sales. I also talk about, thanks to Acutrack, we never run out of inventory. What makes affiliates crazy is they'll do a video for a product, be it a book or anything else, and that video catches traction, and they're making their percentage of each sale, and the store that they're doing the affiliate for will run out of inventory, because the minute you run out of inventory, TikTok will shut down that video. So that affiliate had this thing that was paying them, and they were going, wow, this is working. And then it ends like that. So we talk about, that we put a lot of focus on making sure we have inventory, that we ship in a timely manner. I talk about our shipping times, and I talk about you can always reach out to me. So put yourself in an affiliate shoe. I'm an affiliate and I have a platform that sells things. What would I want from my supplier, meaning you? So in the beginning, sell them on your infrastructure, sell them on your mission, sell them on your sales anywhere, and then you'll get a few. But once a piece of content of yours or all the others or all together start selling well, it gets easier and easier. I hope I said that well.
That's when they start, and that's when they start seeking you.
Yeah, you have to, even in the beginning, sell the affiliates on what you do have, which is, a great inventory status. You have an infrastructure built for shipping. Talk about the mission, talk about your ideas, talk about if you are selling well on Amazon, places like that, talk about, I wouldn't say I have great Amazon sales. I would say that we have a history of selling this many books in this period of time, things like that. Affiliates don't like Amazon because they don't get credit if that happens off TikTok platform. So I wouldn't say, oh, I have all these sales on my website or Amazon. Just say we have historically had this many sales over this period of time. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Awesome. The next question is from Mike. And I think it's a good question. It's just, I think it's obviously going to vary, but the question is, how many videos did you make before that one went viral?
Gotcha. Yeah. So when that video went bonkers, I think I had like 9 followers, and I had done maybe 20 something pieces of content. And a lot of them were like just me playing around with CapCut and doing memes and, just playing around I did not want to be on camera. I was hoping to find a shortcut end around to sell some books without being on camera. So I was doing lots of that. I had done maybe myself 10, 12 videos of me on camera. So, I think it was, I know that's not the experience of many people. I'm incredibly grateful for the situation we had in, but we also had 5 years of sales before that moment as well. So, I already had my books in several hundred stores by that point. So I had some advantages in that I had a track record. I made a ton of mistakes already. I had already met Acutrack and was already working with them. So that helps the equation, but I definitely got lucky. I'll admit it, on TikTok. So
a lot of things aligned at the same time. That's good.
Yeah, but luck only happens. I kind of believe luck is all based on surface area. The more stuff you put out in the world, there's more surface for luck to come along and stick to. If you're doing 5 videos, you've got 5 cards in your hand. It's harder to have that lucky moment with 5 cards. But if you're making tons of content, you're trying to sell in a variety of places and a variety of messages, there's more surface space for luck to come along and stick to it and find it, in my opinion. So
that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Okay, the other question is from, sorry, I lost my place here.
Right.
Oh, from Brian. So his question is about nonfiction books. So it's marketing a unique niche for nonfiction books. Is it best to target market that kind of reader and author? And should you DM that specific group of readers and authors is the best way to get buyers?
Nonfiction tends to do a couple of things in a very general sense. One is to entertain, one is to teach somebody something, solve a problem. So unless your nonfiction book is incredibly niched down into, like, for people who birdwatch, I'm just throwing this out there. If it's a topic, don't focus on going down too nichey. You made this book for a reason. Who can use this book? If it's a real narrow niche, try to find a way to talk about that niche in a larger sense. I always talk about, I don't sell books, I sell gifts. I have always sold my books as gifts. I just don't talk about books. They happen to be books, but I sell gifts. So that has expanded. I mean, I think that's part of the reason why we've done so well, is because everyone's got to buy a gift for mom and dad or grandmother or grandfather. Nonfiction is actually easier to market than fiction. And that's borne out by all the fiction authors I know. Because fiction is very genre specific. And a lot of people will say, oh, I never read romance, I never read fantasy, I never read horror. So they're gone immediately. But with nonfiction, there's more people out there than you think that will be either entertained or learn something or have a solution to a problem because of your book or the ideas in your book. So,
very well. Yeah. Next question is from Gloria. Would you recommend using AI to create videos?
I don't use AI for videos. I know it's made it easier for some folks. My concern is, I think there's a lot of good things out there about AI, but my concern is that people will say, oh, they're using AI for this, they must be using AI to make their books. And I just don't want to go there. So we try to stay completely out of the AI conversation for anything that we create. We try to avoid it. My biggest complaint of AI isn't the stuff that you hear. It's about this mission of mine and hear your story. Once again, I think every single person on this freaking earth has an amazing life story that needs to be heard. Unfortunately, as we know, so many stories of people before AI have never been told. And AI is just a gathering of the stories that have been told before. So what you get out of AI is a very narrow telling of all the stories that have ever existed. It leaves so many people out. That's my issue with AI, is that it's a regurgitation of what's already of the seclusion we already have and what stories get told. So, but the main thing about creating that question, I like making stuff. It's fun. It's definitely easier, but it's real. Last Christmas, one of my biggest selling videos was I have these old wine barrels in the backyard. I put one up. I have these old stands with 2 books, and I filmed it, and I played some commercial allowed music, and it sold a ton of books. Content is so easy to make. So at the AI things, I think it's just, I don't think it's there yet, and I think it's going to turn off potential buyers. So
you don't recommend it?
For me, it's that's my choice. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. There does have a lot to do with authenticity, being genuine. Those things are important. So when you have AI, it kind of takes away from that. Fair enough. Okay, the next question is from Marina. It says, if you could rewind and start from scratch, is there anything that you would do differently?
I would definitely get the experts earlier, experts in design, experts in editing. I would take a few risks earlier, things like doing print runs earlier. I would have done that earlier. Like I said, I didn't know about wholesale. A lot of folks say, I would love to have my books in stores, etc. You can do that now if you sell the right kind of book. Once again, I sell gifts. So I would approach these small little boutiques that are all over every city in the world and just say, hey, this is what we sell and this is who buys them, and they would buy them. So I would start that earlier. But I don't think I would change a ton. I would just do a few things earlier just because the road's the road. And if you change the road, who knows where it ends up? I'm really proud of how we've evolved, how we've been willing to change. And while we've been changing, Amazon's changed. I mean, in the last year, TikTok has changed so dramatically. Every platform changes. So you have to constantly be willing to evolve and change with those as well. So, yeah.
Awesome. So you would just do things a little bit sooner. That's the answer.
I think, yeah, I would just, I would realize the importance of good design, the importance. I mean, I know AI can do all this stuff for us now. I just don't think it's the same.
Yeah.
I have my designer, Chelsea's worked with me now for 4 years. She's now a full-time employee of ours, and she's someone who I dig. I'll never dig AI. I dig and I love Chelsea. I would do anything for her and her family, and she'd do anything for me and my family. I'll never get that from AI. So, yeah.
So next question is from Brian. Do you hire affiliates on retainer as well?
We're starting to. TikTok, as it's evolved, it's getting harder and harder for simple messages to catch traction. You need to have it helps to have people who know how to sell on the platform. So if I see people that are selling well, I will approach them and, a package deal for this many videos, we'll pay you this much. But I also want the rights to those videos so I can then take them and use them on Instagram. I can use them on my website. I can use them other places as well. So there are folks out there who I've talked to, and they'll say, yeah, they want this huge amount of money and they want me to run ads to them and they want a percentage of the cut. And, it's margins and books are thin, so we don't do that. But it is worth it to me to my goal is to find a nice group of folks. You don't need you do need an army of affiliates if you're not guiding the message and you're just kind of just shotgunning. You need the army. But if you can build up a small group, a smallish group, 25, 50 folks who you work with on a rotating basis to create constant content that you're paying for, I'm beginning to see that's working better for us than just shotgunning samples. So,
perfect.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to hold people that are working well instead of just finding new affiliates, pretty much.
Yeah, especially if you like working with them, you like their content. A lot of the samples I send out, I never get a video out of. So this way I know what's going on. So,
okay.
But I definitely will always have the new affiliates that we're working with, through the affiliate network. So,
yeah. All right. Stephanie has two questions. First of all, she says, Jeffrey, congrats on your phenomenal success.
Thank you.
What do you feel is the perfect length of a video, or do we mix it up? That's one question.
We mix it up. It is definitely true that because the algorithm favors videos that are completely watched through. If you look at if you have the business account for your TikTok, you go look at a video, it'll show you the measurement of how long folks last through the first part of it, second part of it, third part of it, fourth part of it. The algorithm likes it if people are watching that video. So of course, if you have a real long video, you're gonna have less people to do it. I think the reason why that random wine barrel with 2 books on it worked because it was 30 seconds long. And I had the script going. But then again, there's also ones that I've done that were a couple of minutes long. I don't like to go more than 2 minutes. I don't want to talk that long. I'm more likely to say something stupid if I talk that long. But people don't want to hear me that long. So I'll try to stick, if I'm telling a story or talking about an idea, I'll try to keep it at 2 minutes, around that range. I will go over sometimes, but yeah,
so you mix it up.
Kind of the goal. I mix it up definitely. I don't definitely have a channel full of 30-second boom, boom, booms. We have a mixture, but you just never know what's going to work. It's the craziest TikTok about it. I mean, I wish I could say, if you do this, you'll get this. But TikTok is so beautifully, and I know the random thing is frustrating, but the reality of when things are not nailed down, that's opportunity. Opportunity, it has never existed when everything was nailed down, and this is the way you always do it, because the people before you are already doing it. So if it's a situation where there's nothing nailed down, it's always changing. So there's always opportunity on all these platforms.
That makes sense. Yeah. So Stephanie's second question is, do you discuss your book in every single video you post?
No, I believe that if you're constantly selling, we talk about, once again, that's the idea of the brand. We talk about the brand. We talk about our hopes, our mission, that kind of stuff. We will, I have, because of this and to support what's happening with Hear Your Story, I now have a team of folks. We're now doing a podcast, so I can pull things out of the podcast to use as content. And the podcast is it's 7 questions pulled from my books, and we use that, each of those questions, to do an interview. So it talks about the books. But I try to do a ratio of 60% have a sales element involved, and 40% are just talking about the brand and the people associated with the brand. So
awesome. So it's not always just about selling a book. It's about selling the brand again.
Yeah, because it makes people, once again, the idea isn't just to sell one book. The idea is to create, Hear Your Story is the place that people go to for this activity or this idea or this product. And people begin to trust a brand and realize a brand, not just because of the things you sell, but because of who's selling it and who's creating it. And so we have our people on our team, we'll introduce them. We'll talk about our ideas. We'll have family stuff. Well, that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that.
Yeah.
Alan has a question that's kind of in the same vein there. So he literally says, you said sell the brand, mission, and infrastructure.
Yep.
Can you share the pitch you sent to affiliates?
For affiliates, now I really target what I know affiliates care about. I talk about our GMV. I talk about, we never run out of inventory. I talk about, we ship fast. I mean, Acutrack most days will ship things out same day if they're arrived that day, so that's the things that affiliates care about, is you have inventory, you have a history of sales, and here's how to get hold of me if you have anything. And I tell them it's not just me, I have a team person also, but they have a way to contact us. They want track record, so you have a track record of some type. It's just how you talk about it. Like I said, if you don't have a track record on TikTok, talk about you've been selling and making books for this long, you have this kind of focus, you do have access to inventory, you do have access to quick shipping, so talk about the things that you do have. So
perfect.
Yeah.
So just a few more questions, guys. I think because Jeffrey's time is very valuable, so we're just going to do a few more questions and then we'll call it a day there. Next one is from Mike. You're a very large organization now. How do you evolve from the little guy to the organization you have now? I guess it has to do with a lot of everything you just told us, right?
Yeah, but it's I am so not good at this right now. It's very different to do something. I mean, when you writing is this solo amazing, you're doing it on your own, and you work with other folks, but it's, you're sitting down by yourself for most of the time. I've always had folks who kind of helped me, but it was like, hey, Chelsea, let's design this. And she would go off by herself and make stuff. But now, because I'm trying to grow the brand, and we have stuff in TikTok, we have stuff in retail now, we have stuff in multiple languages now. I have a team of folks, and management and strategy. I'm working on it. I'm trying to get better at it. I hired really good people, but really good people like to know what we're doing today. So, and I'm so used to working by myself. So I am, that's an area that I'm massively trying to get better at. And I'm just so grateful that they've been patient with me. And like I've done on my books, I tried to get better and evolve. I'm now working with I've gone out to talk to folks who are experts at marketing, experts at strategy, expert at business plans, because those things, people, I want to have a business. A side hustle is way different than an enterprise. A side hustle is, me in my garage. I did that for a long time with books, but now I'm trying to have multiple platforms. The competition's more fierce than ever. There's so many cool things we want to make and put out in the world. I want Here's Story to be a platform, not just a place that makes books. A platform around the idea of, sharing, preserving life stories, chronicle life events, and building connections with yourself and each other. That's the platform that we're building. So it's a whole different set of skill sets. Just because you're good at making books and selling books does not mean you're good at running a business. And I am not good at running a business, but I'll get better at it.
Yeah, and I think that's the answer there. I hope that was a good answer, Mike. But from what I understood, it's not easy. You start as a single a solopreneur is what they call it, right? Yeah. And then as you gradually grow, you have to implement these new things. Like I said, lawyers and hiring people and competition and copyright, right? You're having to add your copyright now to your books. Yeah. So all those things kind of just are things that you have to do in order to grow. If you don't do them, you don't grow. So from what I understand is you're saying you're not the best at that, but you're learning it and you're getting better at it. And it's just a part of the natural growth of a business, right?
Yeah. And also, I'm a big believer. There's this, I think it's from Stoic philosophy. The thing that you think you know is the thing you don't know. And what that means is we all have this thing of like, oh, I got that figured out. And you stop learning as much about it. Meanwhile, that thing is changing. Just imagine if you were a doctor who went to medical school 20 years ago and stopped learning. So I just kind of want to stay dumb at everything. So I want to keep learning. Like I said, I'm 62 years old. I assumed I would be, hanging up it by now. But no, this is too freaking fun. And it's pretty freaking cool to lay your head down at night and realize you figured something out. It's such a cool, empowering, awesome thing. And I'm not talking about success of selling books, but just got better at something. I learned how to do something. I made something. If you're making books that you yourself would never buy, stop making that book, please. So you have, in my opinion, if you love the things you make, and not just because you made them, but you love the ideas behind them, you are going to make so many amazing versions and better versions of that. Love what you do. Any business that you've ever been into, the ones that you love are the ones that this is what we do. We love doing this. We want to be the best in the world at this. So like I said, if you're making books just because it's the random trend and you don't really care about that trend, I'm not saying don't make them. I'm just saying you're gonna get bored. This is hard stuff. And it's much easier. It's that idea. It's not a job if you love what you do. So
perfect. All right, just a couple more questions here, Jeffrey. So this is from Andy. Do you recycle the same video or have to make new videos for each? So it has to be a new video, right? TikTok doesn't allow you to use the same video over and over.
No, but you can take old content that's worked and reformat it, refashion it. Okay. What we've learned is things made for Instagram don't really do as well on TikTok, but things from TikTok reformatted for Instagram do decently. We're now doing YouTube Shorts. We're now doing YouTube. We're doing Pinterest. Any place I can put up a video, we're now putting up videos. And a lot of that is reformatting things we've done for TikTok. So,
and then he also wants to know how often do you feel that you need to post a new video?
Once again, based upon the theory of the more surface area and what comes along, I should probably be making 2 videos a day. I'm not going to because I have other things to do. Just because it creates more, you have more cards in the game, you have more chips on the table if you're doing that. But I've talked to too many folks who have dissuaded me of the idea that there's this rule that you have to make this much content every day or this week to have the algorithms love you. Like I said, I had a video, I had 9 followers and I had maybe made 20-ish videos, 10 of which maybe I was on. So I just think it's a matter of making good content, not just a ton of content also.
That's a good one. Yeah, I think it does have a lot to do with quality over quantity. But one of the things you said is that, your luck gets created by the more surface that you place out there, right? So I would recommend that people create videos every day if they can. I mean, if they have time, why not? Right? There's nothing negative about it. So that would be my opinion. I may not be right, but what you're saying is that you also agree of adding more videos, but because you're so busy, you haven't really had the time to do it like that, right?
Yeah, and plus, the videos that work best are the ones that I'm talking for some reason, but which I don't like to do on camera, but I do them anyway. But I also think that if you're just throwing content out there that you wouldn't care to watch, why would somebody else? So make some content. I'm definitely not high production stuff, because like I said, that video that went crazy was just me getting like Darth Vader with allergies with, my garage. So I'm not talking about production value. I'm talking the point of this one piece of content is to communicate this idea or to share this product, So,
Make it a clear message.
yeah, you always should have a point of what you're doing. If you're just filling, so I'm old, as we talked about. I'm of the age where before these things, you had cameras, and you would go down and buy a roll of 24 pictures in a film can, and you would put it in your camera, and you would take 24 pictures, and then you would go down and have those 24 pictures developed. It costs so much money, and now you're just like click, 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 click. But that's the way I was brought up. It's just like, what's the point of taking this picture? And so that's what we try to do with content. What's the point? What's the purpose? What are we trying to say with this one piece of content?
Love it. Julie's asking, first of all, she says, thanks for your inspiring insights.
Oh.
Can you give us a sense of the percentage of sales from affiliate videos versus your own?
Right now, it's in my opinion, there's no bad sales, be it affiliate or your own content. The challenge is that if you're giving away I give away 15 to 18% for each affiliate video. For me, that's about $2. So that's $2 I'm giving away with every sale. My profit and my opportunities with my cash flow become better if sales are coming off of my content, or at least a better balance. Last year, our balance was affiliate videos to our videos was 65% affiliate, 35% us. Over this year, it's been trying to figure out all this whole new world of, it's at times been 15 and 85. We're now trying to get that up again.
But does that also have something to do with how many affiliates you have? Because it's you versus, several others. So that's why the percentage is skewed.
But well, definitely, if you have that many, it gets harder. But you need to have the best business model means you are having a healthy percentage of your sales coming from your content.
Absolutely.
And healthy meaning, a good. If you're just giving away, you're already giving away the price of the book, shipping, fulfillment, advertising, because TikTok's getting more and more all about advertising. And then you're giving away another $2, in my case, for each affiliate sale. That's a lot of money that you are losing the opportunity to then turn into new inventory or new marketing or help or making new things. So
if to answer the question, there are more sales through affiliates, but your goal should be to have more sales through yourself.
You should definitely always, the advantage of creating content is you keep the money.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I think the last question here, Jeffrey, is going to be from Brian. He wants to know the company that you use to get the copywriting and trademark.
I have it's a law firm out in Florida, DeAngelis and Company. I'll share it with Raj, but they do all my copyright work and all my trademark work.
Yeah.
So I'll back up. Copyright you can do yourself so cheaply for free. You have to pay the copyright office. but it's just a matter of going in and fill out a form. I tried to go through the trademark process in the beginning, and they're very specific and a lot of requirements, so it's worth paying somebody. I think the going rate now just for the attorney fees can be several $1,000s, if not more. So, but the other thing is, once you have a trademark, now you have to defend it, and that may mean let's say you've had a trademark out there for 5 years, and at the 5th year, even though you've had some copycats all along the way, you have this big copycatter on year 5, and you go after them. They can say, hey, you weren't taking care of these all the way, and the judge will often rule against you. That's why people always grumble when Starbucks goes after the mom and pop who does like Planet Box. They have a name that looks a little bit like Starbucks, but it's not Starbucks. People go, oh, big, ugly company. The law says if you're not defending your trademark, you have no trademark. So you have to defend it. You just have to.
I think we should conclude it now.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, want to thank you so much. I mean, you've been so remarkable, so candid. Based on the comments that I'm reading here, I couldn't see you that your perspective, you're so entertaining and philosophical both. So I mean, it's just so much fun and knowledge to gain. And best content for the Friday evening.
Yeah, and as earlier said, I'm not special. I'm a guy who just had something I wanted to figure out, and it's working. I don't know if it'll work tomorrow, but it's working.
Yeah.
Go make stuff you love. You'll sell it. I promise. If you love it, it'll sell eventually.
No,
So,
I mean, your perspective is very clear. I mean, it's very and very much working. So I think it's going to be really inspiring for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody that joined us today too for really investing this time in your future, because I think a lot of people are commenting on this, and I agree as well, is that, the information is so invaluable. What Jeffrey's sharing is something that he's gone through, something that you're starting right now.
Yeah.
So the ability to take that information and put it into action, that's going to be really important for the rest of the, the project that you're working on. So thank you, Jeffrey, and thank yourselves also for joining us, guys.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys.
All right. Good night. Have a great weekend. Happy Thanksgiving.